Hey there, Stampers. Happy Friday. Welcome to this week's Friday Live, where we are going to play with the Boho Indigo product medley, but create something with a little bit more of a beachy feel to it. My name is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Sherwood Park, Alberta, Canada. And I come live every Friday. Sorry, I'm a bit distracted here. I'm waiting for my iPad to update. Okay, there we go. All right, I come live at 11 a.m. Mountain Time every Friday to get crafty with you. And if you're a VIP member over on my Stamp Treasures VIP page, I go live every week for an exclusive Facebook Live with them on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. Good morning, Kim. Good morning, Shara. Good morning, Shauna. Okay, so before we get started, last week's Facebook Live, I said that I was going to give away 2 prizes this week. One prize was for anybody who placed an order this past week using this month's host code. So thank you so much for all of your orders. I've got a package of the Playing with Patterns 6x6 DSP that I'm giving away, and I drew Janie Fisher's name. So I will send that to you, Janie. I have your address. And then the other prize was going to be for anybody who commented or shared my video, because I appreciate all of those comments. And when you share my video, the more that happens, the more that Facebook knows that you guys want to see my videos, and they show up in people's feeds a little bit more. So I appreciate all of that. So I drew, out of all of the comments and all of the people who shared, I drew another prize, and Shara Petch won this one. So congratulations, Shara. So this is actually, these are the supplies, the consumable supplies for my Let's Get Crafty Wrapped in Christmas class. And you will also get, I will email you the tutorial so that you can see how to put these together as well. All right, so congratulations to both Shara and Janie, and thank you so much again to everybody. And we're just going to keep doing that. So please keep sharing, keep commenting. One thing that I do ask is, depending on your personal Facebook settings, if you share a video, I can't always see who shared. So if you can just comment after you've shared the video and just let me know that you shared it. That way I know that who it was that shared, because I know that it was shared several times last time, but it only listed a few of you. So that will help me and ensure that you get your name entered. Okay? All right. So today we are going back. I know I've played with this before, and I've been playing with it lots in preparation for my upcoming mini creative retreat. Not this weekend, but next weekend, which, by the way, you can still register for. I will put all of the details in the description above afterwards, or if you're watching on YouTube, in the description below. So this is the current product medley that is in the annual catalog, and it is stunning. So you have 2 options. You can actually purchase the entire medley, which includes the stamp set and the dies and 2 spools of ribbon, as well as all of these supplies. Or you can get just the refill kit, and the refill kit includes just the paper supplies. So you get these little flowers, you get 48 sheets of 6x6 patterned paper, and you get 2 of each of these sheets. So these ones here are kind of like an embossed vanilla cardstock. Each one is a different pattern. So you get 2 of each of these patterns. And then these sheets are die cuts. So there's lots of label shapes, which I am working on a fun layout using all of these leftover label shapes, and then some fabulous leaves and a couple gold florals there. Okay, so this is actually just half of the kit. So you get a ton of stuff in this kit. So it goes a very long way. If you guys want to participate in the mini creative retreat, one thing that I do make a point of doing, I try to use just half a kit. So because this is a little bit of a pricier product point, what I will do is I separate half of the supplies, so that if you want to purchase this medley and share it with a friend, you can do that, and you can both create the projects. You just have to share the stamp set and the dies, that's all. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so let's set this, actually I'm gonna need this, and the rest I think I can set aside, and I've run out of room on my desk. There we go. Okay, so one of the things that I like to do when I get a big grouping of products in, so something like this where there's a whole bunch of stuff that is meant to go together, I will often go through the catalog and find other things that will complement that grouping. Okay, so I went through the catalog, and this time I found the Forever Gold Specialty Designer Series paper. So because there are gold elements in this product medley, this is a great addition to the product medley. So any one of these, because they're all gold, any one of these things you could use with this product medley, and it would coordinate beautifully. So in here you get, I believe it's 3 sheets of these. You can see I've used a couple of them there. And then you get 3 sheets of these, and these are my favorite. I've used an entire sheet minus this so far. And they're just stunning. They're beautiful. So we're gonna use, I think we're using a leaf. We're using a leaf that's popped out here, and we're using this piece here for today's project. Okay, the other great thing about this is if you don't want to use the gold side, if you want to make it match and gold isn't the right color for the project that you're working on, you can flip them over and use it white, or you can even color the back as well. So it makes it really versatile. All right, so let's set that aside because I've already got that out. And then the other thing that coordinates beautifully, I know that in this product medley you get 2 spools of ribbon, and on each of those spools there are 10 yards, so there's a lot of ribbon on there. But sometimes you don't want gold or you don't want navy, you want to include something different. So this ribbon is the, oh, I did not jot it down. I think it's the Forever Greenery ribbon combo pack. So because we're working with vanilla, this is like an off-white, this is vanilla, and then we've got the gold thread. So this comes as a bundle, you get both spools. So we're gonna be using this gold one today. And so those are the 2 things that really jumped out at me when I was looking through the catalog to find things to complement this medley. But the other thing that I'm throwing in today is I'm throwing in the In Good Taste DSP, and I'm using this particular pattern right here because my goal was to create something that I didn't want the boho feel. I really wanted to have something that was a little bit more beachy. So that's the aim. That was my goal for today's project, was to create a different feel using that boho product medley. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so pull out my pieces here. I have got, surprise, surprise, a Whisper White, thick Whisper White card base, measures 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. That's going to be my card base. And then I'm going to use this pattern paper. This is one of my favorites from this boho medley. I love it. So it's got a subtle floral pattern, but it's distressed, and it just has almost like a denim feel. I just love it. The back is really pretty too, but this side is my favorite. So we're gonna cut that down. And we're gonna cut it down. This paper cutter is not gonna be big enough. Let's do this one. Okay, so we're gonna cut it down to 4 by 5 1/4. So when I cut my pattern paper, whether it's 6 by 6 or whether it's 12 by 12, I always think, okay, first of all, which direction is my paper directional? And this one, it feels like it's directional. You could use it either way, and I don't think anybody would notice, but for me, when I look at it this way, it feels like it's going the right way. And I want it to be 4 across and 5 1/4 down. So I will always cut my shortest cut first. My shortest cut first, because that will give me the longest piece the biggest piece will be the longest, if that makes sense. Okay, so I've got it. I want 4 across, so I'm going to cut it at 4 inches. That gives me a 2 by 6 inch piece. So if I had cut the 5 1/4 inch length first, I would only end up with a 3/4 inch by 6 inch piece. So does that make sense? It leaves me with the largest scrap possible. So that gives me a little bit more flexibility. Okay, and then I will just rotate it and cut it at 5 1/4. Okay, so that piece is done. And then the other pieces that you'll need if you want to recreate this is you will need a piece of, I'm using Seaside Spray. So the colors that actually coordinate this with this are Very Vanilla, Night of Navy, Gold Foil, and Misty Moonlight, I believe. But because this is primarily the dark color, you can get away with using Seaside Spray really well. Okay, this piece measures 3 inches by 4 inches. We're going to emboss that. And then I've got a piece of Whisper White that measures 3 1/8 by 4 1/8. We're going to set that aside. I've got some of that gold thread. We're going to do something with that a little bit later. And then I actually don't need that piece. I've got a scrap of that light wood grain from the In Good Taste DSP. We're going to die cut that. I've got a scrap of white that we're going to die cut from. And then I've got 2 pieces of that, of the gold Forever, you know, the one that I talked about. I can't remember the name of it. So I've got that leaf image that I mentioned. And then there was this leaf as well. And this was actually, it had this exact leaf attached to it on this side. So it was like a semicircle. But what I did was I cut it off for the other card that I created, and I'm going to use this half for this card. Okay, so both of those are from that specialty paper pack. And then we are going to use the Seabed embossing folder, which is kind of a different kind of, you wouldn't think to throw that in here, but I think it really works. Wait till you see the end project. I love how it turned out. Okay, so we're going to emboss this, and I need my dies. We're going to use this die, this vase. We're going to cut that from the In Good Taste DSP, and we're going to cut this leaf from white. Okay, so I'm going to set all of this stuff aside, and I'm going to grab my Big Boss, which is what I'm calling the new die cutting machine, because Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine is just too much of a mouthful. So let me grab that. So this is currently only available to demonstrators, but will be available to customers beginning September 1st. Okay, so it's great because it's nice and compact. You can fold up the sides, it tucks nicely in there, out of the way, and then opens up and it works like a charm. Okay, so we're doing a couple things here. We're embossing and we're cutting. So let's do the embossing first. So the great thing about this machine is everything is on here. It tells you exactly your sandwich layer, and all the plates are numbered. So I think you guys can see that if I slide it in. So this is number 1, and we are embossing, and this is a 3D embossing folder. So it says using with 3D embossing folders, and it tells you you need number 1, and then you've got your embossing folder with your cardstock in between, and then we need a number 4. The other thing is you really want to make a point of putting the seam of your embossing folder. That should always be fed in first, and avoid putting your cardstock right up to the top where that fold line is, because that makes it a little bit thicker, and when you feed it through, it causes extra pressure, extra unneeded pressure on the fold, and you'll find the more that you do that, the more likely that your embossing folder will split at the seam. So it doesn't need to go right up there. I mean, sometimes if you're doing a full 6x6, it will get pretty close, but how often do we actually emboss a full 6x6, right? Okay, so we've got that on there. I've got my cardstock down so it's not right up at the edge, and then, oops, wrong one. And then I need the number 4. And then I'll just slide that through. I know, I love this folder too, Mary Liz. Okay, so we can put that aside. And then we have that gorgeous pattern on there. So that's the beginning of our kind of beachy kind of feel. Okay, so we'll set that aside. And now we are going to die cut. So now let me pull this through. So now I need to add this number 2 because it says using with thin dies. So I've got my number 1, my number 2, and then I need a number 3. So here's one number 3. And then I place my cardstock down. Oh, that's not the right die. So I've got my patterned paper down, and I can do the leaf at the same time. And then I have another number 3 at the top. I want this to be straight. Okay, and then I'll just feed that through. You know what? I don't know the reason for that, Shauna, but I read it somewhere. I can't remember if it was in the manual that came with this, but I think I knew that from before too. That's something that I had heard. So I'm not sure the reasoning. Maybe it's because if you put the seam in first, if there's too much pressure, it allows, like, let's see if I can explain it with a piece of cardstock here. So if something were to buckle, then if you put the seam in first, then it allows it to flatten as it goes out. Whereas if something were to buckle going in this way, if you were to do that, then it forces the seam, too much pressure on the seam, and breaks the seam. That's the only reason I could think of that behind that. So I don't know if that's actually correct or not, but that would be my logic. Okay, so we've got all our pieces done with the Big Boss. So we can set these aside, and we can set these aside for now. Okay. All right, so we're gonna bring in our pieces, and I'm gonna use my seal adhesive. No problem. Happy to answer any questions that you guys have. I don't always have the answers, but I definitely can find out if I don't have them. Okay, and then for this, I wanted to stress this a little bit. So I'm just going to use my finger or my thumb and kind of curl up the edges, and then I'm going to actually tear it a little. And I know this probably is not for everyone, but I'm going to tear it, fold back that tear, and then just roughen up these edges. I'm going to tear it in another spot. Down here. So I've got one in kind of the upper right and one in the lower left. Okay, so something like that. And then that is going to go onto my white layer. And I'm specifically not putting my adhesive too close to the edge, because once I stick this down, I want to play with it a little bit more, just to give it even more and make it a little bit more distressed. Okay, so that's the look that I'm kind of going for. And then I can add some adhesive to the back here. And that's going to go in the center. So I think already it has kind of that beachy kind of feel with that seabed texture in the background and just the white and the light blue. I don't know, it just feels so light and airy, even with the dark piece grounding in the back. Okay, so now we're going to bring in all of our little pieces. And I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive in behind my vase and start layering. So this one on first. Unstick my finger here. Oh, I didn't go quite high enough. Let's go a little higher. So we've got that little touch of gold, and then we're going to bring in some of the white. Actually, let's put this a little lower. So that leaf kind of brings in, it's more like a tropical leaf, so it kind of brings in that tropical feel. And then I want a touch more gold in behind here, and I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive here, just to the back of this leaf, because this isn't going to reach all the way down, but that is completely fine because there's so many leaves and stuff at the bottom, you're not going to see that it doesn't go all the way to the bottom, okay? And then what we're going to do is I am going to, let's just set this aside. I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive on here. I'm going to take this thread and I'm going to separate. So you can use this as a full, like as it's intended to be used, or you can separate it because we don't sell that gold thread anymore, and I miss that. You know what, when we had it, I didn't use it much, and now I seem to want it all the time. So I'm just going to kind of wrap a few strands around, and then I'll make some a little smaller so that I've got a nice variety in there. And then on here, I'm going to add a couple dimensionals. So I'll add a couple on the vase and then one more on that larger leaf. Just like that. Isn't that light wood grain just perfect? I love it. Okay, so now we need to add a greeting, and I'm going to use the thank you from the Boho Indigo because it's like long and narrow. And I'm going to stamp it in Night of Navy ink. And we'll do it this way. And then I'll bring in my paper trimmer and trim it so it's nice and narrow. So let's go this way. All right. And then we need some scissors. So this end I'm going to just trim it so it's a little shorter. This one I'm going to angle cut. And then I'll add a little mini dimensional on here. But it's going to overlap the vase, so I'll just put some flat adhesive on the right-hand side. There we go. So now we've got this fun little beachy thank you card, which is perfect since none of us here can go to the beach, right? Many of us can't anyways, unless you live close to the water. So yeah, since we can't take vacations, maybe this would brighten somebody's day. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was fun to kind of play around with a different kind of look for this product medley. I think there's a ton of versatility. Sometimes I think when you get a grouping of product, especially a package of DSP, I know for me personally, I often will stick with colors that are in that DSP. So this I didn't stray very far. I still stuck with a blue, but I've done some others, which I will be sharing at my mini creative retreat next weekend that I'll be sharing using the product medley using different colors. So introducing some different colors to provide a little bit more variety. Because there's limited colors in here, there's really so many options that you can combine it with. It looks great with pinks and yellows and oranges, and it really works with so many different things. So, like I said, I will post in the description, I will post, Michelle, yeah, you're close to the water, you're good. I'll post in the description, I'll post all of the supplies that I used. And I will also post a link to the details on the mini creative retreat. I would love for you guys to participate. And you know what? If this product medley is not for you, because I know it's not for everyone, the great thing about my mini creative retreats, although I use a collection of products, I always suggest things that you can look for in your stash that you can use in place. Because I know that not everybody's going to love what I've chosen to use. So one of the goals of that event for me is to show the versatility of a grouping of products, but I also want you guys to be able to pick and choose what you love and order that, or use what you already have on hand. Okay? So I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend. Thanks again for watching. Remember, the more you comment, if you share, comment that you shared, and you can get entered to win. And if you place an order between now and next Thursday, then you'll get a chance to win a second prize. All right? Have a fabulous weekend, guys. Thank you.